Ask a Priest Live. Guided by the Holy Spirit and honoring the magisterial teachings of the Church. Faithful Catholic priests answering questions for believers and those seeking truth. Ask a Priest, because Father knows best. And now, your host, Jordan Pacheco.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, listeners and viewers all. Welcome to actually a very special segment of Ask a Priest Live. I'm Jordan Pacheco. You guys see me as the host of our dear, wonderful show here on the Station of the Cross. But I'm really, really excited because we're actually going to do something that we don't usually do, and actually might be a first even for the station. I mean, quote me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, because I'm about to reveal it in a second. But, you know, I'm very, very blessed, right? I get to sit down with these really great priests, and they get to go ahead and give these fantastic answers for all of you. But increasingly, we've actually been getting a lot of comments and a lot of questions about, as I say on the show, how the sausage gets made. What exactly goes on behind the scenes with Ask a Priest Live concerning our producers and including myself, and a couple of ways how this show is brought to you guys. And we all thought actually it was going to be a really fun segment if we just go ahead and noodle on that a little bit. So instead of our usual priest, we actually have our producers, James and Daniel, with us. And all three of us are just going to talk a little bit about the show. So James, of course, started out with me as producer. He's now executive producer here at the Station of the Cross. And you can't see him because he's shy. But I do tell you, Daniel, you are there. I swear I heard you just a second ago.
He is here. I can confirm. He's sitting across from me. His cover is blown.
Okay, there we go.
Neither confirm nor deny this.
He's not our imaginary friend. This is good to know. Well, James, you've actually become the imaginary friend because we can still hear your voice throughout the show. But now Daniel has taken over, and it's been quite successful.
Which reminds me, I need to do some updated show beds for you guys. So I apologize that you're still hearing the same ones that you've been hearing now for a year. But rest assured, I'm working on it. So we'll get there.
Well, I don't know. Are you apologizing to the ladies and gentlemen, the listeners and the viewers, or are you apologizing to Daniel and I? Very, very important here.
Whatever gets me the most indulgences.
I don't know. I keep hearing Jordan making fun of you when we're coming back from the breaks.
No, I know.
He's like mimicking you. And
if you want to talk about how the sausage gets made, right, I can't tell you how many times I've caught Jordan mimicking or mocking me, if you will, coming back from the breaks. I mean, he's got my show intros and outros memorized. I'm flattered, though.
Apple
I'm
Podcasts,
flattered.
Google Podcasts, Spotify. Oh, yeah, you better believe. Well, this is actually good to kick us off. So for both of you, James, I think we'll start with you because a lot of people have been really, really enjoying the show. And a lot of people have kind of known not just our priest and myself, but it's kind of nice to even see comments referencing you, James, or you, Daniel. So let's just give maybe just a little bit of background, because obviously radio, even for me, is a very, very new experience. I come from the world of film, of course. So James, how did you get into it? Daniel, how did you get into it? And how many years have you guys been doing the producing thing?
So I started at the Station of the Cross in August of 2020. So I just passed the 4-year mark now, about 4 years and a couple months and change. And I actually ended up here kind of by chance. So I, like you, Jordan, I was a video guy coming out of college. I went to school for digital media arts with a concentration in digital filmmaking at Canisius College here in Buffalo, New York, a Jesuit university. And I graduated in the middle of the pandemic. Dun, dun, dun. And so naturally, as one might assume, it was a pretty dry job market at the time. Things were kind of, not a ton of opportunity out there. And so I kind of ended up here. I stumbled across the listing on Indeed. And obviously, I had been Catholic my whole life. I was born and raised Catholic, but never really envisioned myself working in not just radio, but specifically Catholic radio. I actually didn't know Catholic radio was as big of a thing as it is until I ended up here. So for me, at least, it was kind of a divine providence type of thing. I kind of just ended up here and I never left. I'm still here 4 years later, and it's been great. It's been very rewarding and great getting to work with other devout Catholics, wonderful Catholics like yourself, Jordan, and that's the nicest thing you're ever going to get out of me, so cherish that while you can.
That is, oh my gosh.
Again, and the buffalo wings will come up at some point in this episode, so don't think you're off the hook. But anyways, so yes, that's how I ended up here, and it's been great, very wonderful, edifying 4 years, so grateful for it. And Daniel,
that's
I'll
great. Daniel, similar thing. That's right, because we're all like the same age, which is kind of cool, because I started back home in Colorado, but I've been filming for a while. But Daniel, you take it too, because you're also haven't been doing radio your entire life.
No. Well, although I listened to the station like growing up too. So that's been a constant.
Wow.
But yeah, like the both of you, as I'm a video guy myself, I started video editing / filmography like way back in the day. So I'm probably nearing on 12 years doing it, like probably 8 of those professionally. So once I got like the chance to join the station, like I got the offer. It's like, oh, like radio. I'm not too sure how all this audio stuff, but I'll give it a shot. And been here ever since. So it's probably been around over a year now. I think I started a little bit before Ask a Priest started. So
yep.
This is actually something I appreciate about our team, and this is interesting. So obviously the Station of the Cross has been around for 25 years. James, you're completely right. I didn't really know that outside of some stuff from EWTN that Catholic radio was not just really prevalently still a thing, but was very big. That's something that's been really important for me. But one thing I really like is, and I talked to Jim, right, president of Station of the Cross, because I said, how is it that you have, you've been going for 25 years, but the producers are my age. Like, we're relatively young guys, like in our careers, kind of getting our footing. And he actually said something to me that I think was a very high compliment to you guys, which was, it's having guys who are young and vibrant that keep us having these new ideas, and we're kind of ahead with the technology. So even the fact that our show, Ask a Priest Live, it's on radio, but obviously it's also on the video feeds, YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble, right? You could see the replays. It's on the podcast sites as well. I mean, there's a lot of interconnectivity that I think even just for traditional radio has opened a whole new frontier to a whole lot of new people.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, as the years continue to pass, I think you're going to kind of start to see maybe traditional radio phase out just a little bit. I think it is a timeless medium in the sense that you always kind of need to have radio for certain things. But at the same time, more and more people are listening to the podcasts. They're downloading the apps. They're watching YouTube videos. So the question becomes, how do you reach those people where they're at? How do you meet them where they're at? And, bring it to where they're comfortable, wherever you're most comfortable listening or watching, whatever's most convenient to you and what you're comfortable with is really where we want to reach you. And I think we've done a good job of that with not only this show, but all of our shows. We've really kind of taken a dive headfirst into the video world, and it's opened up a whole new audience in the online world for us. So it's been great.
That's well. It also helps that we can all speak that language too from our backgrounds in education. So that's been great. I wanted to hit this because Catherine sent in a question actually asking a little bit about the behind the scenes here, and she has a few in here that I think will be really fun to muse on. But she wished us a happy anniversary first off. So Catherine, thank you so much for listening into the show. We're very appreciative of you and everyone who's tuned in. This year has been great. We'll get to that, I'm sure, after the Buffalo Wild Wings coming up. James, I see you out there. But the question that she had was, and something I actually don't really know, is what is the process for going around and picking the priests? So we obviously have a great assortment of priests on the show. They come from different orders, different backgrounds. There are different strengths that each one possesses. So we have different themed shows. And I think we've actually created a really great cadre of holy and good priests who are willing to set aside their busy parish schedules in order to be with us on the show. And it's been very popular, between the thumbnails of Father Brancich and the themed shows of our other priests. I mean, it's great. So how does it go about that? How do you start the communication and then end with actually getting a priest on our show?
So at the show's inception, way back when, what feels like forever now, just over a year ago now. But actually, Joe McLean is the real mastermind behind all of this, at least in terms of the concept. So I got a call from Joe one day, and it was basically, Joe is an idea guy. He always has ideas.
That's so him.
And so it's very him. And so I got a call from Joe, and it said, hey, what if we had a show like Catholic Answers where people could get their questions answered, but what if it was all priests? And not just any priests, but priests that that they've been well-formed in the faith and, no nonsense. It's so difficult to weed through the grass and the weeds sometimes with some of these things that you hear that, you ask yourself, is that really right? You don't know what you're going to hear nowadays at certain parishes. And so we wanted to make sure that they were priests that we knew were going to be giving people the right information, the information that they needed to grow in their faith, to grow closer to our Lord. and ultimately to make it to heaven. And I think that's really the mission of the Station of the Cross as a whole, not just on this show, but everything that we do here is trying to further our listeners' relationship with our Lord and to help them get to heaven. And I think the priests that we have gotten have done a really tremendous job. We've had the amazing privilege of kind of partnering with a couple of traditional orders, that being the Priestly Fraternity of St. Peter, the FSSP, who you all know and love, and also the Institute of Christ the King Sovereign Priest, who you all know and love. So we've got about 5 or 6 different priests from each of those orders, and it's kind of a little bit of a partnership where we all, I'm sure you remember this, Jordan, back in the very early days before the show actually launched.
The Wild West.
There was a day when we all jumped on a Skype call or a Zoom call. And this was my first time, I think, meeting you as well. And we jumped on, and it's yourself and myself and Joe McLean, and then like 15 priests that I've never met or spoken to before in my life.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And everybody's kind of just sitting there like trying to feel each other out a little bit. Like, you know, who's who? The priests are like, do I really want to do this? Like, what am I getting myself into? And, you know, you don't really know at that point what you're getting, but all the credit in the world goes to Joe again. I mean, he was the one that initially picked that very initial group of priests to get the show off the ground. And we've had some, you know, the thing is, when we say that these are priests that are active and in charge of, you know, active parishes and have masses to do and confessions to hear and anointing of the sick, whatever it may be, that is 100% true. And so we've had things come up with certain priests where they have to take a leave of absence from the show for a certain period of time, or they have to, you know, take a permanent, maybe they have to be replaced altogether. And it's not because they don't want to do the show anymore, but there are genuinely things come up. I think of one of our canons from the Institute of Christ the King. We did an initial test show maybe 2 weeks out of when the real thing was supposed to premiere on the Station of the Cross for the first time. And this particular canon did a full test show with us, a full run through with me producing, with Jordan hosting, just to kind of create a sample of what the show would eventually look like. And sure enough, within those 2 weeks from the time that we did that test show to the actual launch of the real full-blown thing, that canon was reassigned and was no longer able to participate in the show just because of the nature of the situation. And it really is true that that's how quickly those things can change. It's constantly moving and developing. And so, you know, you might ask yourself, oh, why has my favorite priest not been on for a certain amount of time? Or why hasn't he been on, you know, in a couple months, whatever it may be? And the answer is priestly reasons, if you will. You know, the first thing that takes precedent is their active role in their parish and their responsibilities to their flock. And we always do our best to honor that. We will, you know, if we need to run a replay because a priest calls us 5 minutes before the show, he's supposed to be on and he says, hey, I have to go hear somebody's confession, it's an emergency. We are going to honor that because that is extremely important to us. So I kind of got off on a little bit of a tangent there, but that's how it started in the initial days.
I'm glad that you brought that out. Yeah, because there's something, and even I was thinking about, you know, every single priest we have on the show, and you said this, I really want to highlight this because I think this was great. They are real world priests. We had a priest yesterday on, Daniel, you'll remember. And one thing is we had a question that was kind of one of those bigger questions, one of those ones that, you know, we had to tone the language down a little bit for, but nonetheless, I'd heard this question before and I thought it was great for the show. And so after the show, we're kind of just talking about it. And what he said to me was, you know, this is a question I actually get in the confessional. And this is something that, so you might even hear me say on air sometimes, I know that this show is going to be, or this question is going to be very important for a lot of people out there, right? We get all sorts of questions, right? We get those very big theological, very rich questions that you might need to study at a theological seminary to really wrap your head around. And we also get very, very good, wonderful, and very honest, solid questions from Catholics who are just trying to figure out, even non-Catholics, we're just trying to figure out what exactly does the church teach about this? How do I navigate this situation? So I'm appreciative of you guys very early on deciding, okay, we're not just going to take the priests of the ivory tower, if you will, the priests who've spent maybe their entire life in seminary, not saying that's bad, but we want priests with that real world experience, that pastoral experience, because ultimately, while this show is not a substitution for spiritual direction and it's not anything close to spiritual direction, we wanted to be able to provide answers that come from the heart of experience for a lot of our priests. I think that's been one of the reasons it's so successful.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure some of you have often heard us say, we ask for specific types of questions to an extent. And a lot of times you'll kind of hear Jordan condense things. And there is a reason for that. And it's not because we're sick of reading your long email. It's nothing, none of that. We are not. We do not ever get tired of getting more emails. So please continue to send them in. But the reason is these priests really do have a genuine concern for people's spiritual well-being. And they feel and understand that in order to properly and fully understand each person's individual situation, radio where we aren't able to see or meet each other face to face is not necessarily the best venue or medium for something like that. And so oftentimes they'll get a very deep personal question with a lot of personal details and things, things about family members or very intricate details. And they want to withhold some of that because they know that the best person that's going to be able to address a concern like that is an in-person spiritual director, your local parish priest. And, they're not going to be able to give as good of an answer through the microphone without seeing or meeting you as your personal spiritual director would. So if ever you have a question where we omit something, it's not because we had an issue with it. It's just sometimes we do have to condense those things to make it presented in a format that it kind of is applicable to everybody and not just one person's individual situation.
That leads into kind of a next interesting thing, because we do have a couple of questions. Daniel, you can lead this one off because we have questions about why your thumbnail game has been so strong. And also if all of us have had some memorable moments, or whether it's good ones or bad ones, whatever, just about the show itself. Because obviously we're a year old, but Daniel, obviously we even did a poll with your thumbnails with Father Brancich, and Father's such a good sport about them, but it's also really funny when he's like, I don't even know how these happened. And we just show him exactly where you took the still from. So how did your thumbnail game get so good? Because I'm impressed. I might even have you start thumbnailing for my podcast if I had a budget for it. Trust me.
Well, it's very simple, especially with Father Brancich. He just makes it so easy. He's very, very extremely helpful in all his hand movements, his reactions, his facial reactions. He's like spot on.
Now you even put a fake hand in there once, though, right?
Occasionally.
I was about to say the hands are
the
real.
Italian hand thing,
That's right.
that's kind of hard to pin down. But it was needed to make it complete.
That's right. That's great. No, I'm so happy that he's been such a good sport. And honestly, I think that's another one of the aspects of the show I like. I think, I'll say this, right? For a lot of shows that maybe start in the traditional space of radio or audio only, rather, there's a different kind of approach to the world of video on the internet, which oftentimes mean you do have to have a good sense of thumbnail and title and these sorts of things. And I don't know about you guys, but they didn't teach me that in film school, that's for sure. That's all the Wild West out there. So I think it's really great when I'm able to tell people, hey, I host this radio show called Ask a Priest Live, and that title automatically off the bat lets people know exactly what they're getting into. They can understand that. And B, when it comes especially to whether it's one of our full shows thumbnails or whether it's one of the bite-sized things I like so much, automatically I just think when I look at it in my YouTube feed, I'm like, that's a really great question. Like, do animals go to heaven? And Father Brancich is like, and I'm like, all right, I guess we're gonna find out today, aren't we?
I think the proof kind of lies in what you're saying too, Jordan. It's just that look at this wonderful little community we've developed in all of the online video feeds, particularly YouTube, but I can't omit Rumble, Jerry from Washington, who is always in there, and Facebook, but YouTube in particular. We've formed this great little community, and it's people from all different backgrounds, all different types of parishes. Some people might attend a Novus Ordo parish. Other people are parishioners of the Institute of Christ the King. We get Protestants. But it's a great little way to interact not only with us, and we can interact with you as our audience, but also for you to interact with each other. And I think that's something that's very valuable. A lot of people don't get that exposure to other faithful Catholics or other faithful Christians, to just have that safe space to talk about the faith, to build one another up, to pray for one another, whatever it may be. And that to me is one of the things that I really love about the show is just this constant interaction that we're getting and the constant submission of questions in the live chat. That it's cool. Some people might not want to call in during the show to email their question or to ask their question live on the air. So why not send it in the YouTube chat? And we see it front and center, come in real time. And it's almost like you're there sitting with us in real time, taking place in the show. And that's really cool. So.
Yeah. So I want to share a memorable moment. Maybe we'll go around also, but I've been thinking about this a lot in different sort of quirks for the show. First off, just a quirk for the show that I tell everyone like every single episode because it's true. But Daniel, can you confirm for me how many pages of email questions do we have at this point?
On the official document, I don't know, like 30 something, but like the ones I still have to add, probably 50 or 60.
36, it appears.
Okay, 36 on the official document so far. But yeah.
Yeah, and there's about 4 to 6 email questions depending on their length and their content per. Would that be about a fair thing? So over 150 questions just on the document alone, not even including the extra 20, 30 pages we have. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I would say so.
Give or take, yep.
So I love this because if you guys remember in the very beginning of the show, this is going to be the real sausage that's made, right? In the very beginning of the show, what we had people who had sent in questions already, but we had a few, and then we were also kind of making sure that if there are any questions that maybe we had behind the scenes or maybe from even previous shows we had done kind of in the similar content, we just wanted to pad out that email list just to make sure that we had content, ladies and gentlemen, because obviously nobody's going to like pop into a very random show they've heard for the first, well, actually that's not true, but you know, obviously there might be a little bit of rapport to see the quality of a show before you really start interacting with it. So very quickly, this is how I knew that, as James pointed out earlier, how great it was that we were making this show where you could really get your questions to a priest out in the field. We just started getting a ton of questions in. And a lot of those ones that we had generated ourselves weren't even needed whatsoever. They were genuine questions. It wasn't just, oh, like, how do I, I don't know, some silly question. I mean, they were real questions, but we much rather give the priority, of course, to all of our listeners and viewers. And that's something that I thought from the early days was very funny. We started with like 10 pages and some were from older things. And now it's like 60 pages all together, and all of that's organic content. I mean, if I was to tell people right now, looking at my chart as we record this, we have just entered into questions from August, I think, and it's some October ones, but there's a lot of August ones still, or September rather, and it's October. So that just tells you like we're a month behind on our real time, but that's a good problem for us because it means we're going to be on air for a while, right, boys?
Well, Daniel, when would you say you officially took over Ask a Priest?
Oh gosh, when was that?
Yeah.
That was what? April, May?
The dinosaurs still roam the earth.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I asked,
was it that short ago?
I don't know.
Short ago. That's like 6 months ago.
I asked the reason I asked the question is I stopped checking the show. We have a dedicated show inbox where all of the emails come in, so it's not coming to our personal email, but there is a dedicated inbox, Ask a Priest Live. Mm-hmm. Just in the time since I've stopped producing the show on a daily basis, I stopped checking the emails. And so I can see the unread number of emails since Daniel took over. I can confirm that over 500 emails have come in. These are just the emails that come in off the air since in whatever the span of time is since Daniel took over the production of the show. Over 500 emails, 502 at this exact moment. And that doesn't factor in what was already on the document, which was 50-something pages, plus the live questions, plus the non-live questions that we pull from the comment sections of our videos. So you can see how these things quickly add up. But again, that is a very, very good problem to have.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. All right, Daniel, you share. What is the most memorable, whether it's positive or negative? What's a memorable thing that the audience doesn't know you'd like to share?
Oh, that the audience doesn't know. Okay. Gosh.
Maybe they do know.
All the yapping before and after the show, all the camaraderie there. Well, okay, yapping is probably a little not the right word, but like all the camaraderie before and after the show. It's a lot of fun. The discussions that happen.
Well, this is great too, right?
I'll
Because
also forgive
oftentimes
you for your yesterday's slight against Turkey. Like Jordan says,
Oh,
turkey's
okay,
not,
we're gonna
not good for anything except sandwiches, which are like,
oh my gosh. Yeah, I still stand
I was
by
gonna
that.
have
I
Cannon
still
say your
stand by
confession
that.
right there and then.
I don't know what's in the water in Colorado, but something is
Oh my
off
gosh, here
with
we
this
go.
man's taste buds.
All right,
Let me just tell you.
we're gonna get into it. I knew we were gonna get into this. Now we're gonna get into it. Okay, first off, gentlemen out there in Buffalo, a couple of things. Turkey is a wonderful food. Okay, I don't mean to besmirch all of turkey. I'm just saying for Thanksgiving, I would rather have chicken than I would turkey. And how this is the smoking gun. This is how I know you guys actually agree with me, because you guys made all this hoopla about how great the wings are in Buffalo and they're not like anywhere else. And I said some heresy because I was like, it just kind of tastes like we could have just gone to a Buffalo Wild Wings. And that was like I was going to get shot. So I don't know what you want me to do with all this information coming in. Thank you very much.
You know, let's recount that day. If I recall this correctly, there was a very particular type of wing that I requested that you order. It was a very specific flavor. Right. And against my wishes, Jordan, thinking he knows Western New York cuisine more than the people who eat it.
Western New York cuisine.
Whatever you want to call it. It sounds good, okay? But the finest food that Western New Yorkers have to offer, okay? Anyways, yes. I requested that Jordan we were at Bar Bill Tavern, which some of you local listeners and viewers are probably familiar with. They have locations in Buffalo and Rochester, New York, so a couple of our radio markets. And I requested that Jordan try the Cajun honey butter barbecue wing. And now, you ask yourself, what is that? How many words was that? 4 or 5 words in the name of a wing? What is this? Like, believe me when I say this is not any ordinary chicken wing. Okay. What would I compare this to? Like when a new convert first really discovers the fullness of the faith for the first time and it's all they can obsess over for like months. This is what it was like trying the Cajun honey butter barbecue for the first time. And so moral of the story is Jordan goes to Bar Bill Tavern and he orders the medium.
Oh, dear.
Across feet away from me. You would have been better off spitting in my face, Jordan. And so, not only
much.
And to your credit, this wasn't only you. Father Brancich did the same thing. Father Brancich ordered medium wings. True. And so, they're eating. Of course, they act like they don't like the wings, but not a clean chicken wing bone or not meat left on any bone in sight by the end of this meal. But Father Brancich, of course, I had him try one of the Cajun honey butter wings, and he's like. He stops and his eyes get kind of wide and he's like, oh, that is pretty good. Oh, you mean to tell me that I knew what I was talking about? And hear me out, Jordan. I was fine. I would have been totally fine with you saying, oh, it was all right. It was whatever. It was good. I enjoyed it.
That's what
it was when you brought a national chain into this. A national chain. Oh,
yeah.
And when I tell you that pierced me like a sword through the heart, Jordan, I couldn't. Everything I thought I knew about you and our year working together was a lie.
You know what? Okay, I hear how it sounds bad for me. Now, I do want to say something in my defense. First off, are we not, of sorts, a nationally syndicated radio show?
We are. That's correct. Not only nationally, but globally. We are worldwide. So.
Even better. So the point in that, therefore, is that the Station of the Cross, having the best sort of content of the Catholic media empire, I think, therefore, I think it's fair that even if it's global, the question is it good compared to maybe the other offerings that you've had? So here's the thing. I actually really love Western New York. I love Buffalo. The people out there in Buffalo are spectacular. I think that part of the country is very beautiful. And I also love chicken wings. Okay. So I'm not like some Puritan snob, although you're geographically closer to the Puritans than I am out here in the cowboy lands. Now, I just want to say this, though. Chicken wings, bar food, is supposed to be a good American comfort food that you can have anywhere. I didn't have to go out to Western New York to have the best buffalo wings or whatever, the honey Cajun butter barbecue or whatever you say, like it's close like something like that. So I know. So all I'm saying, and maybe I was very offensive and I didn't realize I was insulting the cuisine of Western New York. I just wanted to say that I thought that if we had gone to a Buffalo Wild Wings, which I, in my ignorance, thought originated in Buffalo, didn't realize it originated in Ohio. So I am sorry about that completely. I was off my base there. But I thought the wings were fine. I don't know if I needed to travel halfway across the country for the wings. So sue me. Well, don't sue me, but you could glare at me. That's okay.
Jordan, I think you're lucky that duels are illegal now. I think James
Are they still?
Challenge you to duel right there and then.
Well, you just got to go to New Jersey, right? Everything's legal in New Jersey.
It could still be arranged, Jordan. You know where to find me.
I don't want to listen. We can, if you, I'll tell you boys what, this makes more sense. If you guys want to come out here to Colorado, I will happily put you up, and I will think of there's a pub right down the road from me. We'll try some Colorado chicken wings, and then you guys can be like, oh snap, I didn't have to go all the way to Buffalo where the wing originated. I'm just saying, it's just something that's important to me that I thought it was fine. That's all I'm trying to say. I thought it was fine.
Here's the thing. Okay, so 50,000 subscribers. We will live stream a medieval joust between Jordan and I, complete with chainmail, the whole get up, and winner takes all. That's it. And we'll live stream it. That's the
I will
50,000
lower. I will see that,
special.
and I will lower. That's the 50,000,
and we will. And we will
I will
put an
lower
end
that.
to this.
I will lower that even. I will say this. What about this? A 10,000 subscriber special. And why don't we have some hot wings of your choice and make that a little session for the viewers? What do you say?
I would do that. Absolutely. I would happily honor that.
Daniel, you win?
Totally.
But Jordan, one more thing. One more thing. I broached the subject of a garbage plate when you were in town. While we're on the topic of food.
Oh, yes. Oh my
and as
gosh.
you know, your compatriot Rudy Carlos was in town recently visiting the Station of the Cross studios here. Well, would you believe me if I told you that Rudy, actually, some of you who watch the show might also be a fan of A Catholic Take with Joe in the morning, Joe McClain. And there's an insiders chat that they have. And a good friend of ours who is an ACT insider, Sci-Fi Mike is his handle, he showed up to the Station of the Cross to deliver Rudy Carlos a garbage plate. Unannounced, total surprise. Wow. And so Rudy got the full Western New York experience because not only did he get the wings, he got the wings the first night. He got beef on weck the second day, which you didn't even get. You don't even know about that.
I don't know I don't even know what that means.
But he got the beef on weck, and then he got the garbage plate too. So he got the full Western New York special. And, Rudy, when I described it to him, was kind of like, that sounds gross. The same out-of-town, uncultured perspective that Jordan carries, of course.
Yeah,
Rudy, from my understanding, enjoyed what he tried of the garbage plate. So I'm just saying.
Can you explain to your poor global and perhaps not all your west of the Mississippi kind of listeners, what exactly is a garbage plate? Because it doesn't sound. I see you type it over there. I'm
going to read you an official description.
Oh, okay.
Here's the thing that I should add a disclaimer. You can kind of customize it to your liking, but here's what's described as the original garbage plate. It's an American dish consisting of hot dog or hamburger meat, hot meat sauce, and other condiments piled atop a variety of side dishes, typically including macaroni salad and home fries, usually served with a side of buttered bread. So to visualize this, imagine a plate that kind of has like macaroni salad and home fries and maybe some baked beans, and then like 2 hamburgers or 2 hot dogs or 2 cheeseburgers on top of all of those side dishes. And then on top of the hot dogs or hamburgers is like a chili sauce that you would see on like a hot dog. And then on top of the chili sauce is like diced onions and ketchup and mustard. And that's a garbage plate.
Brother, it looks like every school lunch you've ever had in your entire life decided to make a baby on your plate. I mean, Daniel, if you post a picture, maybe people can see this. I would love them to have a poll if they would ever eat a garbage plate. It's not that it probably is bad at tasting, but it just looks, I see why it has its name, a garbage plate. Does that sound even appetizing to you guys in Western New York? Just asking for a friend.
It's tremendous. That's all I will say. And, sometimes you just have to say you wouldn't understand, and this is one of those moments. Jordan, yes. you wouldn't get it.
That might be true. Daniel, you got to break this tie. What do you think about garbage plates?
I say that tastes are better than looks.
I would agree with that.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
I won't push back against that notion at all. I do think that they're intimidating when you see them and when you hear the name, but then when you try it, it's very pleasantly surprising.
I do take umbrage with that phrase, like you don't judge a book by its cover, because people spend a lot of time really making great book designs. So I think you absolutely do judge a book by its cover, and therefore the garbage plate shouldn't look somewhat appetizing. All the ingredients are there to at least have some sort of, or maybe this is a quintessential culinary dish of Western New York, and I need to show my respect.
It's a Rochester thing, actually. It's not even a Buffalo thing, but it's since kind of drifted our way. But if you want a real, authentic, original OG, if you will, garbage plate, you have to go to Rochester. So,
okay, there we go. I will hold you to that.
We're talking to you, Father Amato, by the way. The next time you come to the studio,
that's exactly what I was going to say, Father
wink,
Amato.
Wink, nod, nod.
Well, you actually bring up one of my other favorite memorable moments that we've done, and again, like there really have been a lot over the year. But something that was great is something that happened only a few months ago, of course, which was we actually got the privilege of doing the show live in person, right? So for those who haven't seen it, Father Brancich and I were there for the Station of the Cross 25th anniversary conference. It was a very, very wonderful time. A lot of great speakers. Boys, I'm glad that we posted a lot of the speakers up on YouTube now for people to see. But something was great is, again, this show is happening digitally. So obviously Daniel and James are out there just 1 hour. No, 2 hours ahead of me, Eastern time zone in New York. I'm here in Denver. Father Brancich is usually in New Hampshire or in Chicago when he's traveling or someplace or another. So the fact that we were able to do the show in real time, I think was more secret sauce on top of what already is just a great secret sauce. I mean, the ability just to look at the priests I was with, to take the questions that way, to just talk back and forth about the questions without a fear of a delay or something. All of that was so important. So I'm not saying I'll ever relocate to Western New York, but if you guys want to poach me out of Missouri someday, I'm all ears.
Be careful what you wish for.
I know you already had Rudy out there to the studio. So looking at one of the tail end of a couple of questions that we have here, kind of a fun one. And I'm glad that we got to do this, guys. So this one is a really cool one. And it says, just for fun, if you all were to go on a road trip across the United States, which two saints would you take with you? And Daniel, you can lead that one off if you have any in mind. Otherwise, we'll pass it to James. But I like the question a lot. What two saints would you take with you on a road trip across the United States?
Oh, gosh.
I'm locked and loaded. So.
Oh, you're locked and loaded? How about you go first?
I get it.
I have one, but I got to think of the other.
Okay, so I'm gonna start off with St. Maximilian Kolbe, because he was involved in radio, and I think that's very fitting. So the obvious pick there for me. The second one, though, for me, is St. Joan of Arc. Now, you might ask yourself, well, we're not in the middle of like a war or anything in the States. Why would you need somebody clad in shining armor? Well, do you know how many different types of dangerous wildlife exist in the United States? And so let me ask you, do we think that the bite of a grizzly bear or a rattlesnake could penetrate the armor of St. Joan of Arc? And my answer is no. And therefore, if I need a fearless protector and defender to lead us into battle, if something pops off, if you will, as the kids say, Jordan, I know you love the hip phrases, I would feel great about fighting alongside St. Joan of Arc. So those are my picks.
I like that. That's actually a very respectable couple of takes. I would just worry about scandalizing poor Joan of Arc whenever she got to New York City or something.
Well, we'll save that for another time. We'll
cross that bridge.
Do we have to see all of the United States, or can we pick and choose where we're visiting?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so it's a road trip across the United States. So usually that doesn't mean you see like every 50 state. It means you just probably start in California and you have to end in Maine?
As long as we don't have to stop in Colorado.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Well, I was gonna take St. James just so you could really feel like James the Lesser,
and because I'm your favorite, and you can just say that, which is another debate that we still haven't squashed. But
no, that's not true at all. I mean, Daniel really has taken your place, and the show's been all the more prosperous for us. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Talking heads. Okay, you're a talking head, Jordan.
I am just a useless pundit. That's exactly what it is. So this is a fun question. I would probably take. I'm trying to decide because my thing is, if I took, does it have to be saints or can it be people who you hope are saints or maybe you're in a cult to? So that's a question.
How about we have
it's
one
pretty strict.
with saint, like strictly saints, and one that's strictly not saints?
I mean, I suppose like a venerable or a blessed would count as well, right?
Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. So I'll have to think. I mean, obviously, I do think that I'd actually really like to take Fulton J. Sheen.
Okay,
And the
that's a
reason
solid
why,
one.
of course, is because the media has come such a far way, even from his time. And I think it'd be so cool to be like, here's a radio station, and this is what a podcast is, and you're now being filmed in 8K, 60 frames per second, and just to kind of see that global reach might be something that's really exciting for the faith. But if it was a saint maybe beyond our time of technology, I would probably shock him a little bit. But I have such a fondness for Sir Thomas More, and I just think that I just would like to see his kind of mind and mannerism if I was showing him, Albuquerque or Santa Fe, or going across and seeing the Grand Canyon or something, because he had some quips. He had some funny quips about him, especially when he was writing against heretics like Martin Luther or something. So I think I'd probably cultural shock him. I know that all the English viewers are going to say, "Oh no, please don't do that," but that might be kind of nice to see kind of a fish out of water scenario. That would be like a really nice indie road travel movie with Sir Thomas More and Fulton J. Sheen.
Daniel.
Okay,
Daniel.
I'm probably going to go practical with this. So, number one, St. Christopher. So, in case I sprain my ankle, because this is a road trip, if I sprain my ankle, he can carry me some of the way. So, that's practical.
Oh,
and St.
good.
Patrick, so I won't have to deal with any rattlesnakes, because I really do not like snakes at all.
Oh,
And we can have
okay.
mass.
That's
If
good.
only you
Mass
had a
too.
fearless defender like Joan of Arc with you, who could just not have to worry about getting
Well,
bitten because
actually,
she's
he
covered
brings
in
up
armor.
a really interesting point there,
Also get
James.
mass, too.
Because okay, that's the cheat code. That's totally true. I totally do mass, especially like that would have been early mass with St. Patrick. Who knows what that would have been like? But I want to say, James, he brings up a really interesting point, because if you have St. Patrick, you don't even have to worry about rattlesnakes. Never mind, Joan of Arc's not bringing an extra set of armor for you, man. Like,
That's
she's
okay.
she's protected. She's good.
Well,
Okay,
that's
right?
what
You'll
she leads us into battle. I'm not the one leading us into battle. I'm the one cowering in the
Right,
corner
okay,
in my
okay,
humanly
that's-
weakness, Jordan.
Yeah, that's very fair. But don't worry, you have Thomas More wasn't a warrior. Fulton J. Sheen was a warrior of sorts, you could kind of say. I mean, the radio. I mean, you listen to his broadcast, and that's probably clear. An interesting question indeed. I kind of like that. Well, I guess we'll wind down a little bit, guys.
Wait a
but
second. I want to
Oh, yeah,
turn this
go on,
on the
Daniel.
audience here. What two saints would you pick?
Oh yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Ooh, put the vote.
Leave it in
button
the
up,
comments.
Actually,
Well, vote button and also put
That's
it
right,
in the
leave it in the
comments
comments.
which two you pick and why.
I like that. So looking ahead, guys, for the show, let me tell you something that I'm really excited about, and that's that being around for a year, I don't think any of us kind of knew how this first year would entail. And so something for me that's been really great is, James, you talked about it earlier, but without Joe really kind of setting this thing into motion, it just wasn't really something that was on my radar. When Joe actually asked me, I really, really considered just wanting to say no, not because I actually really loved Joe and I loved the programming on the station, but I just was like, I'm just not a radio host. That's not really what I do. I talk
Yes,
a
you
lot,
are.
sure, but
Yes, you
but
are.
it's just a new kind of thing. It changes the schedule, right? This is a new show. Who knows what it's going to be like? And honestly, and I mean this with no grandiose, this has been my favorite way to end the day. To come home and to sit down and to say hello to our priests and hello to Daniel and to you. And I'm really, really touched by, especially the people I've met live at the conference, because suddenly a lot of people who have been very much enriched by this show were able to tell you in person. There was a woman I met who talked about how excited she was because she listened to the show with her kids. And I met people all up and down the age spectrum, different occupations and everything. But this is just great. People who've had their questions answered. Even there's now been at least 3 or 4 cases here at my church, here at Carmel, which is all digital because there's not a radio station out here that carries us. And they'll come up to me and go, "Hey, I listen." Usually they say podcast. Say, "Hey, I love your podcast." And I go, "Ah, you must mean Ask a Priest Live." And they go, Yeah, it's so great. And this one lady even, it was 2 days after she had called in. She was from Castle Rock, which is just down the road from me. And she actually pulled me aside after Mass and said, "Hey, I was this caller, so-and-so, and I just want to thank you and the priest that you had on, because that was just absolutely what I needed." So that's something that gives me a lot of solace for the future, because it's nice to have a show that doesn't need to prove its worth in the fact that it's so inherently valuable. And I think that we're being good stewards of that and spreading the gospel message and getting people the answers that they need. I can't wait to see what we're going to be doing, never mind just 1 year from now, but 5-10 years when we're all old and gray,
Oh, absolutely. And I think I speak for Daniel when I say this too, that, as a producer, as a production person, you really want to know whether people are enjoying or appreciating the work that you're doing. And it's really hard to gauge that sometimes without concrete feedback. And so that is really something that's special, not only through when people leave the nice comments, but like what you're describing, Jordan, to have somebody come up to you and tell you that what you're doing is making an impact in their life for the better. Like nothing can beat that in this job in terms like that's one of the most rewarding things. And to know that you're helping people become closer to God and, have the best possible chance of reaching their eternal salvation. I mean, what beats that? And to know that it's impacting kids, like you've said this cliche on the air on the show many times, Jordan, is that if you had a show like this when you were growing up, what would that have done for your spiritual life? And I would echo that 1,000 times over. Like I did go to Catholic school, but not, Catholic school is such a loose umbrella term that it's like, how serious is it really? Then. Is it really a Catholic school though? And after I started working here, I kind of discovered that not really. Like the answer to that is I wasn't really properly catechized in the faith. And so even, it's not like we as the producers of the show have all the answers to these questions either. So something else that's really valuable about this is we are learning with you in real time. It's not a bunch of people that have the answers to all the questions. The only ones that have the answers are the priests. And it's because they've spent that time in seminary to receive that wonderful formation. But for us, for myself, for Daniel, for Jordan, and all of the other people here at the Station of the Cross, it's just as valuable for us to hear these answers as it is for you, I think. Daniel?
Amen. Amen, brother.
Jordy?
Yeah, that's all it said. Something about Jordy. Yeah, you've been talking it out
Jordy,
with Rudy.
and I did steal that from Rudy Carlos, by the way. I will say that. That
you better believe it. Yeah, copyright it quick. You can't take it back.
I will happily steal it.
Well, I love what you said there. Something that actually makes me really happy is for those who, I guess this is how the sausage gets made. We're always typing with each other in the chat log. We're figuring out, hey, 2 minutes till break. Hey, let's move this question around. Like this question might take a little longer. Do we need to follow up on this call? Do we need to give some more context? Father would like to kind of go on after the break and really make sure that the point was understood. All sorts of stuff. Never mind the occasional kind of smiley faces and yells at each other. Jordan doesn't like turkey. Daniel typed to me yesterday or something like that. But one thing that I really love is that when I'm going through the show in real time, and often the camera will be on the priest so that hopefully people don't see that I'm reading the questions and looking like I'm like searching for the next thing. One thing I love is that when either you, James, or you, Daniel, will actually type either a follow-up question or comment that therefore I can get on the show. Because I think that for me, I'm very fortunate because you'll even hear it when I want Father to elaborate on something or maybe be particular about something or noodle on a point that I'm curious about in regards to that conversation. And so I just think it's great that, you guys are behind the scenes, making sure, like really being the heroes of this thing, make sure that the engine's running smoothly. And you guys have time also to be like, hey, I really, that's interesting. I kind of have a question here now that I'd like to throw in, or, hey, I have a comment here that might be kind of fun or helpful or thoughtful. And that just kind of shows like, it's not just that we're on this side of the camera and we have the audience out there, but we all are in this together, listeners and viewers, right? We are learning and being enriched and loving our priests and wanting to serve the Lord just as much as many of you who really do help make this show such a tremendous success. And that's a gratitude that I have, and I know you guys have that. That's just been such a wonderful thing to see throughout the year.
And to your credit, Jordan, I think you do a great job of asking a lot of those follow-up questions on your own without our assistance. You're definitely somebody who's very firm in his faith and has a very firm grasp on things. And we appreciate that. You make our job easier. It's not like a situation where we have to lead the horse to water, right? I mean, Jordan, you said earlier, like, oh, I didn't think that I was a natural radio host. And within a week or two of doing the show, we could see on our side of things that you were going to be a tremendous fit for this. And it's just like, it's things that you can't teach, right? So the bubbly personality and, the ability to keep things moving, to stay organized and stay on focus, to add a little bit of humor in from time to time and to ask the right follow-up questions. I mean, these are things that we on the production side of things cannot instill in you. You kind of brought that to the table yourself. So, I just want to reassure you that you can thank us all you want, but a lot of it is you just being a natural. So, congratulations on the wonderful job that you've done. And we are very grateful to have you as a part of the team.
Dang, I'm going to have to upend my
nobody
position
clip that,
on
though, by the
Buffalo
way.
Wings.
Yeah, nobody clipped
There
that.
it is. I knew. Yeah, you being nice. Well, I was going to say something nice here. I was going to say, okay, guys, you've convinced me. I think garbage plates and the wings that you gave me are the best things that I think could happen in the history of Western New York cuisine, and I completely erase all my objections to them. And before we go, is there any last little one bit of thing you want to say to the audience? Because they don't really get to hear from you guys a lot, and I'm very happy that this is an opportunity for them to kind of really see the people behind the scenes who are really running the engine.
Daniel, the floor is yours.
To all our email questions that get sent in by you people, thanks for the little encouragement that you sometimes put in there. That really, really brightens my day when I read that. So keep that up.
I'll take the floor, I guess. I just want to thank everybody who tunes into the show. You might think that it's a small, inconsequential thing to just turn that radio dial to the Station of the Cross or to open up that iCatholic radio app or YouTube and make that decision to join us for an hour every day. But it really does mean a lot to us to know that, you're enjoying the work that we're doing and to know that we're helping all of you in one way or another. And I would just encourage you, to share it with a friend, to share it with somebody who you think can make good use of something like this. And I think we'd all agree that there's plenty of people out there that could find a show like this spiritually beneficial. And so I would just encourage you to keep sharing it around if you like it. Tell people at your parish. We can send bumper magnets for the Station of the Cross to your parish. Give us a call. All that information is on our website. And, most importantly, keep sending in your questions because there will always be questions that all of us have about the faith. I don't think we'll ever run out of questions on the show. Knock on wood, because that's not a problem I want to have. But I really don't think that that's ever going to be an issue. And so just keep sharing it. Keep an eye out for Daniel's wonderful thumbnails. Keep an eye out for new priests. We're always looking to add to the regular show lineup. Mm-hmm. And if you have a moment, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen. That really does. It's not an exaggeration. You've heard me a million times like a broken record. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, TuneIn, and the free iCatholic Radio mobile app. Well, the reason that we promote the podcasting platforms as much as we do is because that one little or review, 5-star review, really tells that algorithm of that respective platform that our show is worth the time of the listeners. And so that's really the best way that we have of getting this out to a wider audience, which many of you have told us that, you feel that it deserves to be heard by more. So join us in this good work and help us to get it out there and spread the word. And thank you for all that you do. Thanks for listening, and we hope you continue to enjoy it.
Yeah, completely right. Very well said to you both. Listeners and viewers, this has been one really fun roller coaster, and it's been very edifying for my own life. It's been very enriching, even the ability to really talk to the team every day, to Daniel and to James and to all the people out there in New York for the Station of the Cross. I mean, this has really been a really great blessing. I, of course, do my work for most of the day at the Augustine Institute, so my employment is very deeply pro-Catholic, and I hope it stays that way, no matter how God I can serve the Lord in any way. And one thing I want to just say is thank you to all of you who send in those comments, as Daniel said, on the email list, but also through the live chat, through email, even on the phone. It's really, really grateful or good if you also be sure to thank the priests. And so many of you guys do. And so many of you are praying that God blesses them and continues on to strengthen them in their vocation. But it's really easy to be discouraged as a priest. And our priests are obviously in the trenches. They are working in real time, trying to keep a parish together. Some of them, and I know that we have some priests, even out in your neck of the woods, guys, who are really, their one parish is really 3 different parish buildings, and they're having to endure parish closures and moving new assignments, right? A lot of our priests actually shuffled around to different parishes this year. Some parishes we'd already known, but nonetheless, like they have to upend their lives a lot of times for whatever mission they need to serve. And so just being able to sit down with us for an hour is a really great blessing. And I'm so grateful to all of our priests who have donated their time and their talent to help make this show a reality. And I'm also really grateful for all of you who just are giving them that little bit of encouragement. Hey, when you post in the live chat or even call in, we'll have a lot of people who call in and then they'll post in one of the live chat places, hey, I appreciate your answer, Father. God bless you. Or that was excellent. Or, hey, I have a follow-up. And we've even had non-Catholics call in or email into the show, but they've been appreciative of the answer that our priests have given. And I know that for our priests, they do need that encouragement. That's a really wonderful thing. It also really helps us because I think our priests know that this is a show where we're not going to exploit them and bleed them dry. We're not trying to turn anyone certainly into a celebrity priest, and we're certainly not trying to make ourselves the star and they're just the puppets for this thing. We really are trying to make sure that this is a very organic, very respectful kind of field. And a lot of priests have really appreciated that, which I think has really helped us maintain and retain our number of priests on the show. And while I hope by word of mouth, especially that other priests, as they come onto the show, right, there's always more, as the producer said, we're always looking, that they know that this is going to be just a really, really great show for souls. So I'm very grateful to that, and I know our priests very much are. So as I do say, don't forget to pray for them and to pray for me, to pray for Daniel, for James, for all of us here at the station. We're going to do this as long as God sees fit. So gentlemen, I think that was an absolute great thing. I'm glad that we were able just to kind of peek behind the curtain a little bit. So thank you guys so much. And thank you all listeners and viewers. God bless you. And we will see you next time when we're back with all of those great questions that you keep sending in. Take it easy. God bless.